welcome to Labour Lent. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the ongoing activities at the International Labour Organization 113th session happening in Geneva, Switzerland, which is centered on the possibilities of new standard of work across the globe. The 113th International Labour Conference has convened workers, employers and government representatives to engage in meaningful dialogue aimed at improving workplace conditions. Representatives from 118 member countries, including Nigeria, presented reports on the current state of labour and employment in their respective nations.
The federal government of Nigeria, with its tripartite constituents, are committed to advancing social justice. In furtherance of this, Nigeria signed onto the ILO Global Coalition for Social Justice as part of our continued commitment towards building an equitable society for all Nigerians.
The way for us is really understanding the different makeup of the informal sector, because people have tend to see it as just one, but the nuances are different. And for anybody that really wants to provide sustainable solutions, particularly in terms of welfare, employee compensation scheme, social protection, you need to understand the dynamics relating to that sector.
Delegates underscored the urgent need for the full implementation of global social protection systems.
We have moved to working with the Development Bank of Nigeria. As we speak, we have a committee working on the modality of implementing how to protect young ones after undergoing the training.
The challenge is all over the world. Social protection is something that is very important, especially for the developing nations. You talk about health protection, unemployment protection, you look at even life insurance and all that.
What is expected of the government, who's the employer, and even the workers, is to work hand in hand to be able to provide this social protection.
While the International Labour Organization continues to build a universal protection system for all, it is expected that the framework will be set to ensure that workers from the informal economy are included. As conversations shaping the future of work continue at the 113th ILO conference, workers, government, and employers from around the globe are making critical contributions. Workers delegates from Nigeria emphasized the need for state government to implement the consequential wage adjustment tied to the new national minimum wage.
To look at what is called wage award. It was almost a new phenomenon in our lexicon, labor circle, to get a particular amount as a stopgap before the minimum wage was negotiated. So I think if we want to discuss the economy of Nigeria, we can look at it clearly, But in terms of negotiation, I think we have done what we are supposed to do. Secondly, from the labor movement, we come up with a policy of working on CNG. If that CNG policy had worked, I would beat my chest that 70,000 is enough, because we took it together. Most of the issues we are seeing around transportation, cost of living, are hinged on transportation.
The challenge that is there clearly is the consequential adjustment, because what we observe is that a lot of states, they kept announcing the minimum wage, it's 80,000, 75,000, but they did not do the consequential adjustment properly. In some states, they would just add like 10,000, 20,000 across board. And that was really what we frowned at. So in terms of minimum wage compliance, for the 70,000, I think we've recorded good level of compliance. But the consequential adjustment was not done properly. But where there are other issues as well is in local government. because we still have some local governments today that have not started implementing it.
As the International Labour Organization continues to deliberate on set of policies and programs to shape the future of work, it is hoped that conventions agreed upon will be implemented by member countries. According to the International Labour Organization and UNICEF 2025 report, the world experienced almost 50% reduction of child labor cases, but failed to reach elimination targets. The report further reveals that nearly 138 million children were engaged in child labor in 2024, including around 54 million in hazardous work likely to jeopardize their health.
Child labor undermines the productivity of future workforces and holds back entire economies. We must not allow the childhoods and rights of yet more generations of children to be lost to child labor. Yet, if we were to continue at the same pace, child labor would not be eliminated until the next century. We must therefore speed up efforts.
The latest data show a total reduction of over 20 million children since 2020, reversing an alarming spike between 2016 and 2020.
We also have to be up to date and ensure that some of these cultural issues are corrected and ensure that children are not necessarily tasked with issues that they are not supposed to go into. We have to have an international standard, best way of practicing how to manage our children so that they can perform better in schools and in their entire life as people who are very corporate people who are trying to contribute their quota to the development of our nation.
Children, as they say, they are supposed to be learning and not earning at that age. So we joined the world in the promotion of the eradication of child labor. Now at the private sector level, and NECA specifically, I think over 7 years ago we started a project with the International Labour Organization. We call it a SELF project. And it's focused on the eradication of child labor in some specific sectors in Nigeria basically. Those sectors that are predominantly exposed to the scourge of child labor, the agri sector, the mining sector, and the construction sector predominantly. And this project has done quite a lot, intervening in Niger, intervening in Akure, intervening in Ondo, those areas where you find these things happening. And also we have also engaged the private sector organizations strategically, and now we have champions in many organizations.
Before now, member countries of ILO had pledged to end child labor by 2025.
Let me commend TVC for providing this platform to workers, Nigerian workers and leaders of labor movements to air or share their experiences. As you are aware, the ILC is a platform that is common for all workers around the world. And naturally, when we meet, discussions are to share experiences, report cases, and case studies as it affects different countries, different continents. And social justice, is something that has come to stay. And what it clearly shows and what it means is that the world of work is becoming universal, is becoming uniform. And workers in Nigeria should aspire and should hope to become workers like their colleagues in other climes. We've listened to people from Latin America, from other African countries, from European countries. And the decency that is required by government and employers of labor, to deploy to the world of work. And Nigerian workers, are among the most oppressed ones because of the social injustice, because of the poor infrastructure that is available for them, because of the lack of quick response, you know, to their needs, especially when it affects, as it affects probably accidents at the places of work, you know, and other exigencies. So we are leaving this place better informed, we are leaving this place better educated, and you know, relationships have been established, networks have been provided, and Nigerian union leaders have been able to, you know, reach out and air their opinions, and also we've been advised on how to improve what we have on ground.
We were here sometimes like this last year, and we are back to Geneva again this year, and the position remain steadfast on the take on this year's theme of the ILO. You could even attest to it by the contribution that was made at the floor, and even the position that was postulated by our Honorable Minister for Labor and Productivity. And I want to specifically say that Nigeria too is in line with the take by the ILO conference of this year. And we are believing that we are going to work in accordance with what has been resolved in this year's conference.
Social justice is very important, particularly to workers in our country. So that is why, if we can see that this year there is even new committees that were selected to ensure social justice among the workforce. And a lot of us served in different capacity in these committees, which includes the Committee on Biological Hazards, Committee on Application of Standards, Committee on Transition Towards Formality, and so on. So I believe with the discussion we held during the conference, we will take it back to the country and we will continue to advocate for social justice for our workforce.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the President of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Festus Osifo. He spoke about the growing needs of workers across the globe, especially the need for workers in the platform economy to join the union. Hello, it's another interesting episode of Labor Lens, and I'm glad to be here again at the 113th ILO conference happening here in Geneva, Switzerland. It's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. It's nice seeing you again. Yeah.
A lot has been happening in the world of work, but I'll start from home. Recently, your union was able to ensure a 300% increase in the wage they earn in the oil and gas sector. Would you want to share how you were able to come up with this?
Yes, so I think let me do some clarification because when I saw that headline, I think it did not reflect exactly what I said. In the oil and gas, it's a private sector, and these are different companies. So in Pengassan, we have over 150 branches, over 150 companies that we have members in. So what I said was that we have been doing negotiations since 2023 when there was devaluation. So we started negotiating across board. And in doing these negotiations, in some organizations, we've been able to push up to 300%. In some other organizations, we're able to push cumulatively up to about 250, some 200%. So what that means is that 200%, it means that we're able to triple the earnings in some organization within just about a year plus. So that was really what I said, because we don't have a system where it will be uniform across board. So it's from company to company. So what was our argument? Our argument majorly was anchored on the fact that the oil and gas business is a dollarized business, right? So the crude that this company sells, most of the services they are rendering, their earnings, their income, it's in USD. So now when devaluation occurred, the workers took the bite, while the companies, they were earning more, because if, for example, a company has set aside $1 million to pay its employees in a particular year, for example, then there was and then the naira was about 450 naira to a dollar, right? So that means he's going to spend about 450 million naira to pay the employees. So, but when there was devaluation, what now happened was that the person, instead of having 450 million naira, he's now having 1.5 billion naira.
This brings us to the conversation of collective bargaining agreements,
Yes.
the strength of unionism. We're at the International Labour Organization event. We know that there's always this call for governments, private organization to allow its members or its workers to unionize. We know that we still have this challenge in some private sector in Nigeria. I know that if you don't have people, these workers of yours under Pengasan, if they are not under the union, it might be difficult for you to be able to engage for a better wage. What would be your message towards enhancing the capacity of unionization and workers having the right to join you, especially with the advent of the platform economy?
Yeah, first, the workers must be ready. It is their right to be unionized. So where we have challenge, where we've had challenges are places where workers would not on their own even want to be members of the union. So when a lot of organizations, their members are ready to join the union, we've been successful in unionizing them. In fact, since I came on board, we brought in nothing less than 50 new branches, 50 new companies to Pengasan since I emerged as president of Pengasan. And these branches, about 95% of them are in the private sector. The reason is because the workers that are there, they are prepared to join the union. So once they are prepared, it's a bit easier. But where you have a situation where the workers are not ready to join and the employers are also aiding them in that direction, that is where you always have challenges. So for us, let me give you one clear-cut example. There is a company, this company, Aeroton. So the workers in Aeroton, we tried to unionize them maybe about 8-9 years ago. Their management increased their pay just a little bit. So when that happened, they went back, they didn't join Pengasan. So when COVID came, the same management slashed their money, there was nobody to fight for them. Then again as well, when NNPC was now about taking over the company because they were hugely indebted. So when that happened, they now ran back to join Pengasan. When they now joined Pengasan, they didn't have a CBA. And there was redundancy that was pending. So it became a challenge, it became a problem. So we encourage workers to be unionized. It serves their interests much more than aligning with whosoever management that they have. And at the end of the day, when the chiefs are down, they are thrown under the bus. So for us, we go from places to places, company to companies to unionize workers. But the workers must truly be ready to be unionized. Because in such cases, it's always been a success. In the TUC case, for example, there is this company, that Foptob, just unionized recently in Kano, Foptob and Textile. It was really difficult. Over the years, they've refused to join union. But the president of Foptob, the secretary general of TUC, they went to Kano. It took a lot of effort to be able to bring them to Foptob as an association. And it was a huge plus for us because they have a lot of branches spread across the nook and crannies of the country. So for us, we will continuously push, so the workers must be ready. Once they are ready, it's a bit easier to get them unionized.
Okay, I'm sure workers should know the implications of not belonging to a union.
Yes.
So we don't dwell too much on that. Let's move on to the platform economy, which is the future of work. People are working remotely. There are a lot of conversations here at the International Labour Organizations towards enhancing the protection of workers that fall into that category. With your experience in Africa as a leader, what would be your recommendation or suggestion to ensure that this pool of young workers, because many people that fall into that category are young persons, are carried along and protected, so that probably they're not just seen as informal workers, but formal workers?
Yes, I quite agree. It's a challenge, since COVID came, the aftermath of it, and with a lot of virtual work currently. The established companies are facing that challenge, and also as well for the new workers, most especially the Gen Zs, they actually prefer today to work from home. They actually prefer to sit in the confines of their houses and work. So for us, I think also we need to develop a platform, because it's also scary when today, when everybody works from home, so you don't have that relationship, you don't come to work, so you cannot even place face or to whom your colleagues are, who is your boss and all that. So it's a real challenge today. So first, for us, we must develop the enabling system. Like in Nigeria, for example, there is really no law today that, because most of the laws that we have, they are quite old. So there is no protection for the people doing this kind of work. So today there are a lot of exploitation that is going on. So first, we must develop the robust laws. We must inculcate it in our Labor Act on how such work will be protected, and also because we have been asking some questions. People work from home, so you have 20 people, 30 employees, they are working from home. They may not even have the interest of joining the union, right? But the union as well, we must also sit down in our respective rules, in our respective constitutions. We must also inculcate this kind of working arrangement into it, so that those workers will be protected, because we could foresee that there are a lot of exploitation that will come. It will surely come, because naturally, most companies, they will want to take advantage of such. But it is responsibility of government to come up with the enabling laws, and also for the unions to sit down and see how can such workers be unionized? How can they be protected? So all these must be taken into cognizance, because between now and the next 5 years is going to even be worse in terms of people working from home. I've had colleagues now that they are just literally looking for jobs that they could work from home.
And that's actually dangerous because of the social protection, insurance.
Yeah.
So what more do you think needs to be done from the government? You've spoken about a law,
yes,
which the government should be a party to.
Yes.
But as labor unions, the importance for you to also factor the future of work and the new dynamics. So what advocacy, again, do you think needs to be put in place? Do you think the media also have to do more?
Yes, everybody must act. If I can guarantee you that if you take the constitution or the rules of most labor unions today, you will not have such protection in there, because the rules were conventional. They were made, for the past. But now looking at the future, that must be inculcated into it. First of all, yes, we could talk about insurance, you could talk about, but the most important thing, in my opinion, is that these people must be brought to be members of a union. If you are not members of a union, it is difficult for a union to advocate for you. But when you are now a member of a union, then it's much more easier to sit with them, look at all the challenges and how those protections could come. Surely, they need to be protected. Yeah, things about insurance, they are quite good, they are quite apt. But beyond that as well, because those things are always captured in the CBA. So if you are capturing everything in the CBA and they are not members of a union, they will not enjoy that protection. So the most important thing is to get them unionized.
On a final note, the Child Labor Day is celebrated yearly. This year, the International Labour Organization has celebrated the children, and the UNICEF as well also have come up with several agendas that can protect children. As the president of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, what would be your message towards ensuring that child labor is eliminated in our country and in Africa to the barest minimum?
Yeah, child labor is really a huge menace. It's something that has eaten deeply into the fabric of every society, and Nigeria is not an exception. Yes, we must stop child labor. But beyond that as well, our children must be educated, because what gives rise majorly for child labor is a lot of children that are out of school. So when you go to some parts in Nigeria, it's quite huge. So you can go to a state and you see maybe over 500,000 children are out of school. What are you wanting those children to be? The fact that they don't even attend primary school, then maybe when they ought to be in secondary school, maybe somebody is going to exploit them some way, somehow. But a child that is educated, a child that is given the basic education, would be able to fight for the future, will even understand. In fact, if a child is going to school, it's difficult for that child as well to be exploited. But if a child is not going to school and sits at home, literally, that is where you have a challenge. So child labor must stop, but we must address the root. And what is that root? A child who ought to be in school must be in class. Government should enforce that. I mean, we should have today, Ministry of Education, we've challenged them in several fora that they should ensure, both the federal and the state, they must sit down to design systems that will attract children to school. And also, parents as well had a huge role to play to ensuring that their child is not trafficked and to ensure that the issue of child labor is eliminated. So a lot of education must go to the parents. They must understand that you are sending your child of 12, 13 years old today to be whatsoever. That child, you are destroying the future of that child tomorrow. So that education is necessary, it is key. But government must act because it's under their purview.
It's a good place to end the conversation.
Thank you, Sharon.
Very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.